All right. Hey, Tony. How's
Hey,
it going? This
good
is
morning.
our
It
second
is a
episode.
second episode of
Yeah.
Deconstructed.
First one was a lot of fun.
A little bit delayed.
Yeah, we'll
First one
talk
was
about that a
fun.
little bit. The first one was fun.
Yeah.
It was very long, but sounds like we can talk about topics for a good amount of time, and so um,
Yeah.
we'll get better at that.
Yeah. We need to space out what we talk about, and that way we keep it a little bit
Yeah.
more digestible, I guess is the word.
Yeah. So I'm Matt. Um, I've I've been in product and technology development for almost 20 years here now, and I'm on the product side of the house. How about you, Tony?
Yeah, Tony. I guess I am the marketing side of the house. And yeah, 15 plus years. I'm gonna stick with our profile. 15 plus years in the tech world, and still chugging along. So yeah, hopefully we're giving you diverse viewpoints. Well, as diverse as it can be, I guess. Right? We're both tech, but at least we're on opposite sides of the house for the most part. So.
Yeah, and we created this podcast to talk about all sorts of things around life, mostly tech, because that's where we live and breathe. But we'll also probably spin off and talk about other news, parenting. We both have kids, and life in general.
Yeah, there's Shibu.
All right, and as we said at the beginning, we skipped last week. We wanted to do our second one the next week after, but I was a little too ambitious and thought I could do it when I was on my vacation on the island of Kauai, which is where I was last week. I spent about a week there, and it was really nice because, as I said in the last podcast, I got laid off 3 weeks ago now, and so having this was I was already planning to go to Hawaii, but the timing
Mhm.
worked out really well because I was able to extend the trip a little bit and just have some good R&R out there. But that Sunday morning, yes, I was not in a state to record a podcast. Hawaii
Yeah.
is two
Uh,
hours behind, so it was pretty
right.
early, and the night before was the show,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we stayed up pretty late. So
Yeah. Nope. It's guess it's one of those things, right? When you're doing something outside the corporate world. Um, yeah, it's challenging because you're like, oh wow, I got all this other stuff to do, and I got to fit this in.
it's
So,
also, I guess, a good reminder and important to balance life, right? Like
yeah.
we're dedicated to this podcast, but I think it's okay to miss a week.
Yes. Yeah. Not it's yeah. It's not gonna blow us up our world yet, unless we become very popular, and then we'll treat it more like a job. right now, kind of like pseudo experiment, right? So there's gonna be starts and stops,
Yeah.
but hopefully if we can make it work, we'll be able to dedicate a little bit more time and I guess just more work behind it.
Well, at that point, we'll have staff,
Yeah,
Tony.
that would be a good dream. Hey,
Yeah.
I do have a question. I think since you are Hawaiian, I guess.
Well, I'm not Hawaiian. I'm not Hawaiian. Like I don't have Hawaiian blood. But I
Sure.
was raised in
Okay.
Hawaii.
Yeah. Yeah. That leads to like it's one of those interesting. Again, people are gonna hear me use this word interesting a lot. But anyways, so like when not like when people, what's the best way to say this? I'll say in mainland U.S. Right, everybody has this like perception of Hawaii as this beautiful destination. We have to go and but on the flip side, I often read news about Hawaiians or people who live in Hawaii um, don't really appreciate the amount of tourism that happens, right? Because there's this big thing about maintaining the culture, which you kind of highlighted, and just the environment uh, of Hawaii. And so I'm really curious on your perspective since you grew up there. Like, what I think it would be good for people to understand like what that actually means because right on the one hand, tourism is one of Hawaii's biggest industries. Um, Yet a lot of Hawaiians don't really appreciate all the tourists that
Yeah.
go there. Is I mean, is that I might be overgeneralizing, but I'm just curious. Like, what is your perspective
Yeah.
on that?
That's a really good question. For those of you who don't know, I mean, if you look back in history, there's a whole thing about Hawaii, the Hawaiian people, how it became a state, and Queen Liliuokalani, she was the queen of Hawaii. The whole history is that she was kind of overthrown, or she was overthrown, and the United States back then came and claimed Hawaii as their own, and they kind of they put her on house arrest, and they kind of took over the islands. Hawaii wasn't
My God.
legitimate should not have legitimately been a state because it was more so taken by force versus willingly joining the United States. That happened a long
Got it.
time ago, obviously, but people who are Hawaiian people are very passionate about their culture and their land.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it is. And so when tourists come to the states, yes, it is the number one source of um, state income,
Mm-hmm.
but uh, tourists aren't always respectful to the
Mm-hmm.
animals or the land. Obviously, the more tourists that come in, the more things you get, like overpopulation of beaches, which can damage
Yeah.
the reef. So yes, I definitely grew up in that environment, and it's always been a thing. All right, let's jump into our first topic then for this week.
Okay.
Well, last week it was Super Bowl Sunday.
Yep.
Uh, as you all know, Kansas City won, or as some people like to say, Taylor Swift's boyfriend won the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yep.
that's sad for you since you are in the Bay Area.
Did not watch the Super Bowl at all. Just because I really had no interest. It's like Taylor Swift. Okay, if that's the biggest draw, that's not going to be enough. Um, but yeah, no, I didn't watch. I only saw kind of guess the last
Oh,
overtime
last
thing.
overtime.
Um,
I thought
yeah,
I
but it was
wanted the
like,
Niners to win, but before the game, I wanted the Niners to win, but I
mm,
kind of felt that Kansas City was going to win. And
yeah,
so when the Niners were up, pretty big at the half, I was like, wow, this they could pull this off. Once they got to
yeah,
overtime, I watched the entire game. They got to overtime, and
mm-hmm,
I just felt like on that last drive when they got stopped on the 5 yard line, just felt like they weren't
mm-hmm,
pushing as hard for some reason. That's what I felt to me.
mm,
And then they settled for the field goal, but I felt like they should have went for it on fourth,
yeah,
and fourth and
mm,
five, especially with McCaffrey. Like, just get a good play, get McCaffrey to drive with all his
yeah,
hardest and win that thing. But
yeah,
they settled for a field goal, and unfortunately, the next play, Kansas did their thing, and Mahomes did his thing, and
yeah.
they came back and won it. So that was
Yeah,
sad, but happy for Kansas. Did
probably
you
should.
watch
But
the halftime show at least?
no. Oh, I watched it post the Super Bowl just because everybody was
Yeah.
talking about it. I was like, all right, no, what is this all about?
What'd you think?
It was fine. It was cool. I think what was more funny was just the people talking about, oh, the people fell off the pole or the roller skater. Oh, actually, yeah, this was kind of funny. It's like I guess one of the roller skaters fell off the stage.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and then just somehow like on TikTok, I came across her feed, where she posted kind of like a follow up of like what happened, and she had like
Oh
this
my
huge
gosh.
bruise on her eye, which is just kind of funny. Like, TikTok's amazing. It was like it's so current, right? That you well, if the person in whatever incident is uses it, like post it up, and it was like, wow, it was like actually
Yeah.
surfaced.
Yeah.
Um,
TikTok is amazing.
but it was funny. She basically made up that she knew how to roller skate just
Oh
so
my
she could be on that
gosh.
stage.
Well,
It's
I
so
was
interesting.
getting down and dancing because in high school I used to listen to a lot of Usher. So I was all about
Mm,
Usher and who else was there? I mean, Alicia Keys made an appearance,
yeah, that was
Lil
pretty
Wayne,
amazing. Yeah,
and who was the fourth person that came out? I forget. Oh yeah,
Ludacris
Ludacris.
was there.
I wasn't.
Hmm.
The only thing about Ludacris though is I was thinking, what is he wearing? Like, he didn't quite match the other. I mean, he had the same style, but his
Yeah,
jacket there was a bit comical.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It
Yeah,
looked a
yeah.
bit off.
But no, good show. Uh, we were getting down, dancing to all the songs.
Eh,
All right, let's talk about this next topic then. Moving into kind of our tech segment here. You wanted to
mm-hmm.
kick us off with these open AI stories that are making waves?
Yeah, OpenAI, just the leader of AI news, apparently. So the two things that kind of caught my eye. One was probably not as interesting for a lot of people, but Sam Altman has been looking to raise funding or at least get people on board with building. I guess the idea is to build like more factories here in the
For chips?
U.S. Um, yeah, for chips, like chip manufacturing plants, with the eye-watering number of like $7 trillion, which when I first read it, I was like, 7 trillion. It's like I I get it. He's hot right now, but 7 trillion. That's a lot of money that he's trying to like get people to bring in. But to be fair, he's also been talking to the actual foundries, like TSMC, etc. So TMSC, Taiwan
Yeah, Taiwan
Semiconductor.
Semiconductors, TSM.
Yeah, Taiwan Semiconductor. Okay. But yeah. Anyways, it was just interesting because it was just like such a big number he was throwing out there.
Well, I mean,
But
I think you also maybe have been following Nvidia, like from a market cap perspective, and I think and Microsoft. Yeah,
Amazon
what are they at? Like 3 trillion now?
and no way it's overtaken. It's number third spot now. It overtook Amazon
Okay,
and Google this week. Yeah. So yeah, only Microsoft and Apple
yeah,
stand at this point, which is kind of crazy because Nvidia's revenue is nowhere near those other
yeah. But I
companies.
mean, but
But
it's all
yeah,
about investing in the future, right? Like Wall Street and investors invest for the future, and so that's what they see the future
yeah,
being. And
it's all about future earnings.
AI. I mean,
We will,
AI and crypto is still a thing, right? And relies heavily on
yeah,
GPUs.
yeah. Bitcoin was hit like over 52,000 this week, which is like wow, I haven't been there in
Yeah.
a while.
So we think about in 5 to 10 years where these two things will be and how much need for chips there is going to be. I think
Yeah,
there's probably a great there's a great case for it, I guess.
yeah, um, yeah.
One of the
I
things
think,
I read or heard um, was that Nvidia um, uh, one of the things that's been helping Nvidia is they've had a backlog of orders, and so supply
mhm,
demand, right? High demand, low supply. But
yeah,
they're starting to catch up on those backlogs of orders. So once
yeah,
they do actually catch up, then the supply demand equation shifts a bit, and so
yeah,
um, you know the perhaps they won't be able to like either charge as much or whatnot.
yeah.
So um,
Yeah. I mean, that's semis short for semiconductors, I guess in finance um parlance. Is parlance? In finance terminology, semis. It's a very cyclical industry. So that's why I'm like, wow, you guys are it's like eye-watering like prices right now, but when it comes to that when there's no upgrade cycle, people are going to be in world hurt,
yeah, and the whole reason
right?
why we're in this situation is because of COVID, right? The supply demand or
Yeah.
supply chain issues that we had during COVID, which caused chips to be stalled um,
Yep.
is slowly, correcting itself. So, um, nonetheless, though,
Yep.
I mean, like we just talked about, these chips are the future of some of our most advanced technology here, and so
Yeah.
um, it's still going to be a pretty lucrative business. But yes, when will Nvidia pop
Yeah.
is the question.
We will find out
Yep.
this week. Earnings for this week. Either they well, it's either hit or miss. I can only imagine like it'll be strongly
Yeah.
either way. But well, we'll find out. Maybe we'll be able to talk about that a little bit in next week's
I
episode.
I'm proud of myself because, and again, well, this isn't financial advice. Um, these are our opinions, and for entertainment only. But it was TikTok where I found this out. So TikTok is great, but obviously you need to do your own diligence. But I learned about
Yep.
this on TikTok, probably a year and a half ago, I want to say. And someone was talking
Huh?
about how there's Fang. Um,
Hmm?
Someone was talking about Mangot or Mango.
Oh yeah,
Do you know what
Mangot.
Mangot is?
Yes. Uh, I forget. T was
No, no, no.
Tesla.
It's chips.
M. Oh,
So I got a tip. I got a
Mangot,
clue
huh?
in to invest in chip companies. M is
Oh,
Marvell
got it.
Technologies. A
Yep.
is AMD. N is Nvidia.
Uh huh.
G is
Right.
uh
G.
oh, my phone's over there. G is another one.
What is G in it?
Um I forget what G and O are. But T is Taiwan Semiconductors. So
Got it. Okay.
I use M1 Finance as one of my investing tools, and if you haven't used it, it's pretty cool. Um, they're not sponsoring this video, but uh,
They would like to sponsor.
they allow you to create pies, so like little ETFs. And so I created a
Hmm?
Mangot pie. Started
Oh,
throwing money, started dollar
nice.
cost averaging into that about a year and a half ago, and it's up
Wow.
180%.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
so the whole chip wave was one a success, that I got from TikTok.
Yeah.
Although you need to be very careful what you hear
Nice.
on TikTok. I told my friends about it. I don't know how many of them actually took the advice,
Hmm.
but no, it was
Yeah.
good.
Should have told me. I would have done
Well, now that we're going to be talking every week, you'll learn about my tip.
it. Yeah. Now you maybe give me some better ideas than what I have. Oh man. I went all Lucid and Rivian because like, oh wow, this is the next Tesla, and it's nowhere near the next Tesla.
Rivian, I believe in. I mean, maybe not the next Tesla, but I believe in Rivian as a company. Lucid is crap to me.
Yeah, the product is nice. Lucid. Yeah, okay. Let's just say those are the
Yeah,
opposite end of your
yeah. I
Mangots.
mean, the thing that really turns me off about Lucid is their CEO. I don't really like his
Hmm.
demeanor, his answers, and all that stuff.
Yeah, he's a bit what is it called?
Yeah, yeah.
Pretentious.
But Rivian actually, I bought some Leaps on Rivian early last year, and they also went up over 100%. And so now it's just I sold everything but one Leap, and so now it's just
Hmm.
profit riding.
If only I'm a bag holder at this point.
Okay,
So.
but what were we talking? We were talking about Sam Altman, the chips. Yeah,
Yeah, OpenAI. So I guess the bigger news, even bigger than 7 trillion, is
yeah.
their new text to video product Sora, which you haven't seen. Some pretty amazing things that they were posting on their Twitter feed. I was like, wow, that that is amazing. It's yeah. As I guess we can call ourselves creators now. As a creator, um, it opens up so much new opportunity. I think for just I'll say normal, everyday,
Yeah.
non-professionals in the field, right, to kind of bring a certain vision to life. Um, but I still wonder. I mean, there's still a lot of questions in my mind. Is like, right, the point of, I guess, this idea of generative AI is that you generate something
Mhm.
randomly every time, right? And so this moves more towards like, how do you actually the first thing came out was like, what was the one video? It was the astronaut with the yarn helmet, the red yarn helmet. It's awesome, by the way. But it's like, well, how do you save actors, right?
Mhm.
That it creates, and then when you think about, okay, so like if I were to create a short film using this generated actor, like I don't do I wouldn't have rights to it. So anybody else, like you could come along and go, oh, that's a great theme. I'm going to use it too, right? And I think I haven't seen a lot of discussion yet about kind of that long
Mhm.
term, right? Is like there is it going to be copyrightable if I say like, well, I made it, but you're like, wow, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
Anyways, so it's just one of those interesting things with the tool. I know it was setting the Twitterverse on fire, at least in certain tech circles and creator circles. But I don't know.
Yeah, I
Have
was
you
I was
been
blown
able to?
away by what when some of those videos were starting to make headlines and the news was circulating
Mhm.
around. OpenAI started a TikTok. I think it's a new TikTok channel, but they started a TikTok channel, and that's all they're
Oh,
featuring
do
now
they?
is just the
I did
Sora
not know.
videos. Um,
Mm,
but no, it's really cool.
yeah.
I see a lot like I mean, one of the things that we deal with a lot is looking for imagery, right? In presentations or on our
Yeah.
websites, imagery and videos. And traditionally, it's like you have to go to stock photos, but those aren't always the best.
The best.
It's a stock photo when you see it online.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Sora here, and even Dolly, the image creation, both of those
Mm-hmm.
just open up a whole new like capability of
Yeah.
creating your unique photo that's copyright free that
Yeah.
you know um, precisely conveys and tells a story of what you're trying to show right to a user. So I was blown away by the videos. I mean, I was watching them very closely, and some depending on what the video is, you can if you're pretty good, you can say, oh, this was created by generative AI. But then some of them, like there's one
Yeah.
where it was an overhead of I think of like an Italian coast or something. Do you see that one?
Mm-hmm.
You would not be able to tell the difference, and you would
Yeah.
just think that that was a drone or
Yeah.
something like flying over.
Right.
Uh, um,
Yeah.
Ironically, something that I did in Hawaii is talked about ChatGPT because we were talking about tattoos, and I subscribe to ChatGPT, so I pay for GPT-4, and
Yeah.
I've been wanting to get a new tattoo, and so I've been using it to actually come up with designs for that, and it's been pretty
Wow.
good. And so I started showing
Really?
my friends, and we were like, they were all like trying to tell me to put more into ChatGPT and see if
Mm-hmm.
it can handle this, handle that. Like, what if we add a dragon? What if we add penguins? What if we? And every time I added it and showed my friends the picture, like they were blown away. They were like, "Wow, that's actually not that bad." Like, I would get a
Right.
tattoo like
Yeah.
that. Then I showed my sister, and then that caused her to
Mm-hmm.
pay for ChatGPT because it was so good in
Oh, really?
creating, these renderings of tattoos. So,
Mm-hmm.
man, I'm like I'm stoked, super hyped for kind of what OpenAI is doing and how they're just like
Yeah.
they're good, right? And they're
Yeah.
but to your point, like the things I'm sure they're thinking about all that future strategy, the risks and other things that they need to think about, the different use cases, and I'm sure they'll solve them.
Yeah.
If they don't solve them, then other people will, right? Uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
I think there's so many use cases we could think about of how we want to use these new
Yeah.
technologies.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think yeah, I was blown away by what Sora can do.
Yeah.
It's still not usable, right?
I was like,
It's not open to the public.
yeah, it's more like a
They're teasing us.
pre-announce. I think to what you're saying, they're still doing, what is it? Is it Team Red. It had the word red. I'm guessing it's their adversarial, like kind of like testing process before they
Yeah.
launch something. So, anyways, again, another great way to build hype without really having to spend
Yeah.
money on it,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's good.
I'm sure they'll get a completely new set of people to subscribe to their product because I think right now it's like it's a bit um
It's
it's
niche.
not really a dedicated tool to create
Yeah.
stuff like it. Yeah, it's very there's nothing out there at least that I've seen. I mean, there's tons of AI companies doing the same thing, but I think if this being all packaged all in one, it's kind of like one of those like moats, if you were to call it. Well, moat-ish in that they're just kind of at the forefront at the moment.
As you just got me thinking, because the other thing I use it for is I've been reading this book. Um,
Hmm?
Another one that kind of went viral. It's called The Fourth Wing. Have you heard of it?
Okay. I
It's
have
it's
not. The
a
fourth wing, huh?
it's a
What about that?
fantasy romance.
Okay.
But it's about dragons and war, and it was actually written by a female, and it's written from a female's perspective. A female is the main character, and the
Okay.
author is also like a romance novelist, I believe. So it's got some of that,
Rebecca
Mhm.
Yaros.
It's
Rebecca
got some of
Yaros.
that gushy.
Link below. Link in the below. We'll have to decide whose affiliate link gets to be put in the link below.
It's got some of that gushy, romancy stuff. But I like it because it's
Mm,
about dragons, and my daughter is really into dragon books as well. She's reading the Wings of Fire
hmm.
series. Um,
Wings of Fire.
yeah,
That's a
Wings of
new one.
Fire. It's a really good book about dragons, and so it's like, yeah, I can read about dragons too.
Is it like is it children?
It's like
It's not a children's type book,
it's
right?
probably
It's just
like
like a
um over 7 years old, I would say. Yeah, because
okay, like a Harry Potter
yeah,
ish
they
type
talk about like
demo. Okay.
killing and death and all that stuff.
Okay. Okay.
Um,
Oh, Wings of Fire. Interesting. Oh wow, it's a series of
there's
10
like
books.
10 or 15 books, and they have
Oh
graphic
wow.
novel. They
Okay,
have
so this
like
has been
graphic
an
novels,
ongoing
and they
thing.
have just regular novels.
Wow.
Um,
Okay. Wings of Fire.
yeah,
Okay.
but I've been reading the Fourth Wing, which is the adult version of Wings of Fire, if you will. um, and what I've been using ChatGPT for is to create renderings of some of the scenes or some of the characters that are described in the book,
Oh.
right? Because
Oh.
in my head, I have my own
In-
visual of what they look like, but I'm curious,
Yeah.
like, what would ChatGPT think they look like? And it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good.
Right. Really?
But
Oh,
as we were just talking
interesting.
about this, I'm like, wow, you know what I see in the future? I can see this in the future now with Sora, that you could input an entire book transcript into it, and it would create the
Oh.
movie for that book.
Yeah. That
That
would
would
be
be amazing.
amazing. And it'd be able to summarize too, so it's not creating a scene, but it's like it could potentially like create like you would go to see a movie, right? You would have certain like key scenes that it could create, and it would find some way to bridge
Hmm.
between them.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
that is
Because
yeah. I
yeah,
didn't even think about that. Hmm.
I used it to. There was this, and I'll put the photos in, in the video. Um, but I asked it to create this scene that was being described of a valley with like peaks and dragons and a river
Hmm.
going through the trees, and it
Uh huh.
did it. I asked it to
Yeah.
create the courtyard of the academy to which all the cadets stand in formation, and when in the mountainside it
Yeah.
created it. Then I asked it to create this enemy called Venom that they're described as having red veins around their eyes and sulking
Right.
features and all that stuff,
Uh huh.
and it created it. So it just gives life, more life to the book, which is very cool because I'm a very visual and image focused
Yeah.
person. Yeah.
Right. Right.
Um.
Yeah.
So
So
man, yeah.
yeah, when that comes out, I maybe we can do an episode completely on Sora and like, oh, here's again put
Yeah.
it to the test, right? And try some of it out. That'd be very interesting. Maybe I have to put in a subscription so
Yeah.
that we can see what we come up with. That'd be kind of fun.
All right. Let's talk about
Um,
Apple then. We talked about Apple in our first podcast.
okay.
Uh, yeah.
Yes, we have to continue theme. Apple Vision Pro still top of mind. Maybe not as top of mind, but people are starting to spend a little bit of time with it. And the most surprising review ever from the man himself, Mark Zuckerberg, posted on his Instagram channel. I watched it. I was like, wow, this is either either he's very compelled or he's very affronted that everybody keeps talking about how great Apple Vision Pro is and the billions and billions he has sunk into the Quest. It's just been kind of like tossed to the side of the road. It was like it's just so interesting that how he tried to pick apart and compare the Vision Pro versus the Quest
Yeah.
3.
I actually did it. I didn't finish the
And I
interview
just thought it was
because
funny.
I just felt like he had this like very, I don't know, very like aggressive tone. Like not
Yeah.
normally what I see from him, you know?
Yeah, yeah, it came across. Yeah, it just came across very weird. It was like very out of the blue, right? People just weren't like. When does like it'd be like I don't know. It'd be like Tim Cook reviewing who's the laptop who's the like reviewing a Samsung
Lenovo.
laptop or something like that. It's just like it's
Yep.
very weird. But until why he felt so compelled. Well, I guess we kind of know why he felt so compelled, because then yesterday I just randomly came across a Reddit thread that pointed like, oh yeah, the Morning Brew show actually had was able to get Mark Zuckerberg to on for an interview. But anyways, so that interview, I was like, Mark, that's what you should have done in your Instagram post is just give a like I felt he was like a very different person
Yeah.
in
Same
that
here.
podcast. Like I was like, yeah, very relatable, very personable. Versus where I think a lot of times where he's portrayed, it's very like robotical, very like expressionless. And I'm like, dude, whoever is managing your PR, they need to give you that feedback. That's like the way you were on this podcast is how you should present yourself. And I think people would like would just get a different
Yeah.
view of him, right? Like a better impression of him. Because like if he had done that Instagram post in the style or the way he did the podcast, I think he would probably get a
Yeah.
lot more
Yeah.
positive reaction out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
He did mention a couple of
yeah.
interesting things that I was like, yes, this is exactly what I
Like
said
what?
last week. Is like the next, like the step about this augmented reality, right? In that what's missing is kind of like this idea of like shared experiences with people that you don't actually necessarily need to know. It's just you're in the environment and you'll see the same thing. He did talk a little bit about it. It's like we're just not there yet, right? That would be the next step in the
Yeah.
future. Once the technology gets there, once more people adopt. He talked a lot about the Ray-Ban Meta. I don't even know what it's called, but I know I've seen it. I didn't really look into it because like, oh, it's just a camera, but I guess it does a lot more. But
It's
their
the
collaboration with
stories sunglasses,
Ray-Ban.
right? The stories
Uh,
sunglasses. Or
yeah,
stories glasses.
yeah. See, that's what I thought. I thought it was more like Snap's, I guess Snap's attempt at
Yeah.
creating like glasses, but apparently it's a little bit different, and maybe that's the direction the Quest, not not the Quest, but the direction Meta is going towards augmented reality is kind of like in that
Yeah.
style of it's just
Well,
sunglasses you
but
wear.
he also mentioned
Um,
to me that video from Marquise Brown. But didn't Marquise Brown say that the Quest 3 and Meta's headset had better social features than the Vision Pro? Because basically
yes,
Marquise Brown said that
yeah,
Vision Pro is missing that, right? Which is what you said as well in our
right,
last
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah, at the moment, right, it's built for kind of like a solo
Hmm.
experience, right? Where MetaQuest, of course they're building off the metaverse, but it's also just got a tons of apps where they have kind of like that. What is? Oh, I totally forget the. Is it VR room? VR something? anyways, it's a separate, not part of the Holoverse. Is it Holoverse? There are so many verses out there, but it's not Meta's Metaverse experience, but it's this other company that was around before, I guess, the
Okay, like
Quest,
a third party.
before Meta went all in. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it was like a shared environment where it's really just to play games and kind of like hang out.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
but
the
yeah,
social
so
aspect is key, I think, to be able for
yeah,
these headsets to go more mainstream.
yeah,
I was reading that there's been a well, I don't know if there's been a high number of returns, but there have been returns. Yeah, and the
yes,
common reasons for returns were headaches after 30 minutes of using it, for example, dry
uh-huh.
eyes, and just things things you would that would make common sense to associate with having a screen this close to your face for hours.
So so this is the one thing. Like I'm really going to be curious. Like, what are the
Yeah,
long term like impacts of having a screen on your face like every day, right? For like hours at a time. It's like I would keep thinking like my eye doctor is telling me like, yeah, you're killing your eyes. Like my visual, my like my glasses are getting thicker by the year, um, and that's just from staring like at laptops and screens like for 12 hours a day, right? But like, can you imagine like what happens when the screen's like this far from your
yeah.
eyes? Um, I wonder if any they're actually. I've briefly looked, but it doesn't look like anybody's actually working on a study to like see like what is that kind of like long term effect. Um,
I
yeah, man,
mean, I'm
our
sure there's
vision.
probably a
That's
lot of
like
like
yeah,
data around it based on historics of what we know, but this does, open up a whole new set of data
yeah,
and now that people are actually
yeah,
using these more.
yeah. Like your eyes are like I read some things about people. I was like their veins are like
Yeah, that was
exploding
the
in
other
their
one.
eye.
Yeah,
Okay,
getting red eyes.
that that would be like that'd be a no for me.
Yeah,
Thank
it can't be
you.
good.
Um,
I did book a demo though for next week, so I'm gonna go to the Apple Store to
oh,
do
did you
the
really? I
demo.
haven't done
Yeah,
that yet. I need
pretty
to.
cool.
Okay. When did you book
It's like
it
Wednesday,
for?
I think. Yeah,
Oh, okay. So that gives us something a more Apple
yeah.
Vision
Maybe
Pro
I'll
to talk
record
about next
myself
week.
doing it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That would be funny. That'd be cool. I wonder if they. I guess they wouldn't let you plug in. It'd be nice to see
Oh, what I'm
like your
seeing.
own like
Yeah, probably not.
yeah what you're seeing. But
The other thing you mentioned from Apple is the foldable iPhone. Yeah, I know they announced
yeah,
that.
there was just some red. Yeah, there was just some stories about Apple experimenting. I mean, I think everybody knew Apple was probably looking at some type of flexible
Yeah,
display. Um, but then, that was last week, and then this week it's like, oh, they've put the project on hold
they said that about the car
because the
too. They
technology
said that
is
about the
not.
car too.
Huh?
Well, they put it on hold, which just means
Yeah,
they're still trying to perfect the technology.
yeah. So like in this case, it was like until Samsung can produce
Yeah.
better screens, they're gonna kind of like stop like work or development
Yeah,
on it.
I mean,
It's
foldable
kind of
phones make sense to me.
interesting.
Um, although the whole thing about it is because one of my friends has the Samsung one. It's pretty cool. But you
Yeah.
need to fix that line, the crease.
Yeah, that's what bugs
Yeah,
me the most is just that screen. And the screen, after using, well, I guess like current phones, right? I'm just so used to the hard glass of it to go, and I say to go back because for people who've only lived on iPhone, previous touch screens were I'll just call them
yeah.
flexible, soft. Like if you think about the old the Blackberries or the
Palms.
old Palm, right? They were actually soft. Yeah, they were actually soft screens, and so these like foldable displays kind of take you back to
Yep.
that era, um, and it's just a very different feel. It's like I don't appreciate
Same.
the
Same.
soft screens anymore, right?
Well, Apple is
Um,
the
but
Apple
then
is the leader in glass, right? So
yeah, yeah. But then when you combine it with like kind of like now, I actually liked. seeing Zuckerberg's perspective on it, but it's like maybe we don't need foldable
Yeah.
phones because eventually you'll just have a super more compact, like just on
Yeah.
your face.
Glasses.
Um,
Or like the Google
yeah,
Glass thing where
and
it's
so it's
like
just like
just a little thing here.
that. Yeah, I can't decide if like was that like it was just too early or they should have just worked on
Too
it.
early. But I think it was
Maybe
too
it was
early.
too early. People weren't
Yeah.
ready for it. Yeah, people weren't ready for that. Now it's probably a little bit more. It's still weird, but people are a little bit more accepting.
I do wanna I do wanna
Misconceptions
talk about the layoff
are good.
update though, since we talked about it last
Oh,
time and
do it.
it's a good one. Um,
Yeah, go for it.
so layoff update. Layoffs are still happening, which is unfortunate. Going into LinkedIn every day is such a drag. But
Hmm.
so far in February, um, this week or last week, Cisco laid off thousands of people from its huge 85,000 person workforce. Um,
Yeah.
Microsoft had another small hit in their gaming division. Snap laid off 10% of their staff for about 540 people. DocuSign laid off about
Yeah.
6%. Mozilla laid off 5%. And Instacart laid off 7% or 250 people.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it's still going on, and it's that's what the environment is right now. So everyone who's dealing with layoffs
Yeah.
or dealing with being laid off, including myself, um, just please take care of yourself and know that we're going to come out of this, soon here. Just takes time, and these things, go in cycles like everything else. And um,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, just keep your head up, keep interviewing, and take care of yourself.
Okay.
Uh, so yeah, great episode number 2. Hope everyone's enjoying it so far. And we'll be back next week to talk about more news. Do you have anything going on this week,
More
Tony?
trending
My
news.
daughter's on
Huh?
midwinter break, so I'll be spending a lot of time with her.
Oh, okay. My yeah, my little boy is always on break at this point. So
Tune in next week for more Deconstructed with Tony and Matt.